This is the weekly roundup on the EAC News channel. Your look back at the week that was in the Kingdom of Wonder. A very good evening to you. My name is Andrew Barnes-Roberts, and we begin on Monday, the 13th of September. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi left Cambodia for Singapore on Monday morning after an extremely fruitful visit that lasted barely 22 hours. He landed at Phnom Penh International Airport at 11 a.m. on Sunday. By 9 a.m. on Monday, he was gone, but not before handing over a $150 million sports complex, confirming the donation of 3 million more doses of vaccine, and signing 6 new agreements with the kingdom, among them a $270 million grant. A working breakfast at his hotel was the final item on Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi's Cambodian itinerary. He held talks with Deputy Prime Minister Hau Nam Hong, who is co-chairman of the Cambodia-China Intergovernmental Coordinating Committee. He also met with Minister of Public Works and Transport Sun Chantol, Health Minister Mam Bun Heng, Commerce Minister Pan Sorasak, and Secretary of State at the Ministry of Economy and Finance Vongse Visot. They'll be managing the windfalls that have come from Wang Yi's visit. Those windfalls, in the form of 6 bilateral agreements, were signed at the Peace Palace on Sunday evening with Prime Minister Hun Sen. The 6 documents include a handover of humanitarian demining equipment for the Cambodian Mine Action and Victim Assistance Authority, an agreement on cooperation on supporting partner hospitals, a handover of equipment to combat the pandemic from the Chinese government, an agreement on cooperation on a $270 million economic and technical grant, a handover of a $2.5 million grant for demining, and an agreement on cooperation projects through the Mekong Lanchang Cooperation Special Fund. A little earlier on Sunday, Wang Yi paid an official courtesy call on the Prime Minister. He also held bilateral talks with his Cambodian counterpart Prak Sokhonn. But the headline event was undoubtedly the official handover of the Moradok Decho National Sports Complex, where the close relationship between Cambodia and China has been enshrined in concrete. The main stadium's 2 99-meter-tall prows symbolize the two countries, and the stadium's overall design, personally selected by Prime Minister Hun Sen, pays tribute to the historic relationship between the two nations, resembling an ancient Chinese sailing vessel. The sports complex is the largest gift China has ever given to another country. The Chinese Foreign Minister likened the friendship to a rose that has never stopped blooming.
Cambodia and China are both developing countries, and we are building for the community together. And China will help to develop in all fields in both countries. And China will help Cambodia by giving the people for better living, get more benefits for their family. And we hope that Cambodia will be more prosperous in the future.
The Prime Minister thanked China for the stadium, hailing it as a major benefit of the Belt and Road Initiative, as well as his win-win policy. He says the stadium will be a beacon for Cambodia's future. I asked the Cambodian SEA Games Organizing Committee chairman to invite foreign soccer teams to play or train here. And I ask all of our sportsmen and women who were trained by the Ministry of Education in their regions to come and hold competitions here in order to make this place a system for attracting tourism and development. The Prime Minister says a grand opening ceremony to which thousands of people will be invited will be held at the stadium as soon as it's safe to do so. There are just 2 days to go before secondary schools in the capital will reopen after an almost 7-month break. Schools, teachers and students are all getting ready, but safety against COVID-19 is being prioritized. School administrations in Phnom Penh have sanitized their campuses and are cleaning up. Teachers were also tested for COVID at the weekend, in line with the requirements set by the Ministry of Education. EAC News reporter Reo Soko has more.
Public and private schools are busy preparing in line with the requirements set by the Ministry of Education. They have to pass to be able to reopen on Wednesday, although private schools can make their own decision about exactly when. Most public schools from grade 7 to 12 in Phnom Penh will open on the date set by Governor Khong Sreng. Schools have been cleaning up and sanitizing for the past week, especially those schools that were used as quarantine or treatment centers for COVID-19 patients. While teachers say they're excited to get back to in-person learning, parents are equally excited.
I feel very happy because my kid will get to learn more than before. Every day my kid studies online. The problem for them is the internet. If they go back to school, they get to learn more and learn faster.
I am excited for my child to go back to school, and I hope this time they won't close the schools again. I also hope that the COVID-19 pandemic will end soon.
Beyond Phnom Penh, some other provinces are also reopening schools. One of them is Porsat Province. Provincial Education Department Director Lee Sokunti says a total of 54 secondary and high schools will open on Wednesday. While in Kampong Cham, Provincial Governor Ung Chanda has announced that secondary level will reopen next Monday, 20 September, while primary level will reopen on Monday, 11 October. Rhea Soko, EAC News.
Now for a look at news making headlines around the world this Monday, the 13th of September.
An explosion which neighbors say felt like an earthquake rocked an apartment building in suburban Atlanta. It caused the three-story complex to partially collapse. 2 people are missing. 4 people have been injured. The Dunwoody Police Department says they received calls shortly before 1:30 on Sunday afternoon. The cause of the explosion is being investigated, but a local utility company reportedly received a call from a resident complaining about a strong smell of gas. The 4 people hospitalized are all in a stable condition, but 2 other people remain unaccounted for. They may well have been in one of 3 apartments that completely collapsed.
4 passengers have been killed in an airline crash landing in Siberia. The Russian-made L-410 aircraft was carrying 14 passengers and 2 crew when it attempted a hard landing 4 kilometers from its destination. According to preliminary reports by local emergency services, the plane reported equipment failure minutes before the crash landing. Rescue services had to free 11 people who were trapped inside the aircraft.
And several massive explosions were heard as a huge fire broke out in an industrial area in West Yorkshire in northern England. Residents reported hearing a loud bang which could be heard for kilometers. It sparked panic, with a building bursting into flames and sending a column of smoke into the sky. Fire and rescue services say everyone is accounted for. The explosions were apparently caused by gas cylinders.
Prime Minister Hun Sen, together with his wife Bunrani Hun Sen, received their booster shots on Tuesday morning. The Prime Minister took to Facebook to share the news, saying that booster shots have already been administered to almost 780,000 people. He says the royal government has decided to administer booster shots 4 to 6 months after initial vaccination. The Prime Minister shared pictures of the 3rd doses being administered by doctors at his home in Kandal. It is not known which vaccine was given to the Prime Minister and his wife, but they were originally vaccinated with AstraZeneca, suggesting they may have received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine as a booster shot. They are over 60 years old and outside the recommended age range for Sinovac or Sinopharm. The Prime Minister did announce on Sunday, though, that the 3 million additional doses of vaccines to be donated by China will be allotted for booster shots as the country works towards fully vaccinating 12 million citizens over the age of 12, with booster shots also allowed for. The kingdom only needs to secure a further 3 million doses of vaccine to have enough shots to meet that target. What looks like a vehicle from the Jetsons cartoon is now a Khmer reality. A passenger-carrying drone has been built by students from the National Polytechnic Institute of Cambodia, and it's been getting a lot of attention both on and off campus. EAC News reporter Yuri Matosko went along to have a look for himself.
The future has come to Cambodia, and it comes from Cambodia. This 2.5-meter drone can fit 1 person and can fly for 10 minutes. It's a result of teamwork from both mechanical and electronic students, with 2 permanent students and 4 assistants helping with the welding and wiring. They say the drone took 1 year to build. We interviewed the 2 permanent students coordinating the experiment.
Can you tell me, is it hard to control it?
It's easy, yes, for me.
For you, because you practice a lot, right?
Yeah. When I'm inside the drone, my feeling is excited.
Person of my weight, I have a little bit more than 60 kilograms. Can I go inside and pilot as well?
We testing for a lot of time. I mean, for 46 time. Yeah, and we see like we cannot put the load after 60 kilogram. So you cannot. And in the future, we can put after more than 60 kilogram.
The general mechanic of the invention, Troy Sutiera, told EAC News they had teacher supervision from the institute.
We have 2 teachers to help this project and support her. And one from electronic engineer, his name is Saran Srivatha, and one more teacher is Ho Sok On, he's from mechanical engineering.
Now, can you explain me better how it works the propellers of the drone, because they turn around very fast?
About our propeller is we sync it with the motor and we take it to part. First is the top part of motor, which is propeller, and second is under part. For the first part is top part. Our top motor it's working by clockwise, and under part is working by counterclockwise.
Oh, I see. So the top part goes clockwise and the bottom part goes other side.
The general mechanic shared his expectations for the new invention. He hopes that it can be used by firefighters and maybe one day as a passenger vehicle to ease traffic congestion.
This invention behind me shows just how much potential Cambodian students have. It also demonstrates that everything is possible when teachers, students, and their institutions come together to build great things. Yuri Matosco, EAC News, Phnom Penh.
Now for a look at news making headlines around the world this Tuesday, the 14th of September.
2 fishing boats have been rescued by the Vietnamese Coast Guard in the wake of Tropical Storm Conson. The first vessel with 5 fishermen was rescued 45 kilometers off Lisun Islands after they went adrift from Da Nang. The other boat, with 13 crew aboard, was found 27 kilometers out to sea. All crew members were given first aid and tested for COVID-19 before their vessels were brought back to shore. Local authorities have warned that the risk of floods and landslides triggered by Conson remain high, even as the system weakened off the country's central coast. Heavy rain brought by the storm has killed at least 1 person, damaged dozens of homes, and flooded more than 1,000 hectares of rice fields.
Emergency services continue to battle flames as devastating wildfires flare up in Spain. The uncontrollable 6-day fire could be seen from kilometers away near the town of Bojera, where many residents have been evacuated. The Prime Minister has deployed the military emergency unit to help tackle the blaze. The fire has torched more than 6,000 hectares. 365 firefighters are on the front line, supported by 41 aircraft and 25 vehicles. At the same time, firefighting crews in Southern California are trying to contain a wildfire that broke out in the hills above Los Angeles County near a major freeway. The so-called root fire is burning along both sides of the Golden State 5 freeway. The Angeles National Forest says the fire is 0% contained. 2 firefighters have suffered serious burns. The cause of the fire has not been determined. California's latest bushfire came a day after Governor Gavin Newsom toured communities devastated by the state's raging wildfires. He says the record-breaking fire season should end all debate over climate change.
And protests in France against a new COVID-19 vaccine passport mandate have escalated. The health pass or a recent negative COVID test are required to enter cafes, restaurants, and many other public places. Protesters claim it amounts to discrimination towards unvaccinated citizens. The Interior Ministry says over 120,000 people had gone on the march across France, 19,000 of them in the capital, Paris, where police made 85 arrests.
A surprise announcement from the Prime Minister on Wednesday morning. Cambodia is to start vaccinating children between the ages of 6 and 12. The vaccination rollout starts on Friday morning at the Peace Palace, barely 6 weeks after vaccinations for children aged between 12 and 17 began. The Prime Minister says the decision to vaccinate children as young as 6 is aimed at getting them back to school as soon as possible. He says the next consideration will be to vaccinate children from the age of 3.
Prime Minister Hun Sen will kick off the next phase of child vaccinations on Friday morning. He says the first shots will go into young arms at the Peace Palace, and those children have already been invited. The kingdom has approximately 1.9 million children in the 6 to 12 age group. The Prime Minister has emphasized that the availability of COVID-19 vaccines is not an issue.
We have decided to vaccinate children from 6 to 12 years old. If we do not vaccinate these children from 6 to 12 years old, we will not be able to open primary schools because this age group are in primary schools and we have only opened secondary schools. It is so difficult. On the other hand, vaccines are being studied in many countries and they are already being given to children under the age of 12. Therefore, the vaccination is not really much of a concern. The decision to vaccinate this age group has been made, and we already have the vaccines in hand.
On Sunday, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi told the Prime Minister that the Chinese government will donate an additional 3 million doses of vaccines to Cambodia. On Monday, UNICEF Representative Foro Foyisat confirmed to EAC News that more vaccines are also coming through the COVAX initiative. As of 14 September, Cambodia has already fully vaccinated 71.81% of the kingdom's total population of 16 million.
After almost 7 months of closure, the capital's secondary schools started reopening on Wednesday morning. 68 public schools decided to reopen on Wednesday, having received permission from the Education Ministry to resume in-person learning. Their students all say they're glad to finally be back in class. EAC News reporter Reo Soko was at one of the capital's high schools on Wednesday morning.
As early as 6 a.m., they were waiting in line to enter Chia Sim Santhomuk High School. Vaccination cards were checked one by one. Temperatures were also taken, and masks were required. Hands were sprayed with sanitizer. They could then make their way to the class, where capacity has been capped at 15 students. Prior to class proper, teacher is explaining how students can protect themselves against COVID-19. Teachers and students all told EAC News how grateful they were to finally see each other after all this time.
The school reopening makes us teachers happy because we feel pity for the students in grade 9 to 12. They are graduating students. They don't really learn much from studying online. But now with face-to-face class, I believe this will motivate them to study harder.
I am happy because now I can meet my old friends and we are now back to studying physically.
I feel happy because I finally got to meet up with my teachers and my friends.
Teachers were all tested ahead of the reopening. According to Phnom Penh Capital Administration, just 24 teachers out of 10,419 were discovered to be COVID-19 positive. The Provincial Department of Education, Youth and Sports is cooperating with the capital's Department of Health to treat those teachers, although they are all asymptomatic. Although fearing COVID-19, students and teachers at the secondary level of public schools are all happy to see each other again face to face. Only a few of the students can be seen around, with only 15 allowed per classroom. This pared back in-person teaching is being implemented in 227 schools approved by the Phnom Penh Capital Administration for reopening. Rhea Soko, EAC News, GSM Santomok High School, Phnom Penh.
On Sunday, Prime Minister Hun Sen described the recent US evacuation from Kabul as a bitter reminder of the events of April 1975 when the Khmer Rouge entered Phnom Penh. The Prime Minister was speaking at Think Tank 2022, hosted by the Universal Peace Foundation. Well, that US evacuation has now prompted a congressional investigation into the country's chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan amid calls for the resignation of US Secretary of State Antony Blinken. He beat back criticism of the withdrawal on Monday during a testy congressional hearing. He blamed former President Donald Trump for negotiating the withdrawal agreement with the Taliban, but Republican lawmakers were having none of it. The House of Representatives Foreign Affairs Committee getting down to a hearing planned ever since the Taliban took back control of Afghanistan. Republicans wasted no time in grilling Secretary of State Antony Blinken, with Congressman Scott Perry asking him where he was.
Yes, I'm at the State Department.
Oh, couldn't be bothered to come down here and see Congress. All right, that's great. Hey,
Sir, excuse me, sir. My understanding is that the House is not in session, and that's why the session has been...
I'm right here, Secretary. So's the chairman, so's the ranking member.
We're
Here.
Me,
Mr. Chairman, reclaiming my time. Did state at any point in the evacuation process block American citizens from leaving Afghanistan?
No, we did not.
None. Your testimony before Congress is that state didn't block any American citizens leaving Afghanistan.
To the contrary, my officers, men and women, ran into the building from around the world to help Americans get out.
It's a simple yes or no. I heard you do it with Mr. Connolly. You can do it with me. Yes or no? I just want to clarify. You didn't block anybody. State didn't block any American citizens.
No.
Okay.
They were there to help Americans get out.
How many Afghans not meeting the qualifications of SIV have been brought to the United States? Prior to, I want to know how many Afghan citizens came to the United States that had not met the qualifications for special immigrant visa?
We're in the process of
No. How
going
many?
through...
How many? How many? How many did you bring? You were just at Dulles. How many did you bring?
We will have, by the end of the month, we will have brought a total of approximately 60,000.
That have not met the SIV process.
Some of those will have been through the SIV process. All of them, regardless of SIV status, will have gone through rigorous security checks.
It'd be nice if that was done before we brought these people to the United States of America.
SIV refers to the U.S. Special Immigration Visa for Afghans. There was another blasting of Blinken a few moments later from Republican Brian Mast of Florida.
I do not believe whatsoever what you're saying about the administration not working to manipulate that intelligence. To me, that is the most logical explanation of how so many in the intelligence community got this so wrong about what was going to happen in Afghanistan. Why it would seem somehow logical for President Biden to leave the, quote, most advanced military weaponry, why some would not speak out against that if they were getting the false intelligence because it was coming from the top down to manipulate it. In my opinion, that's absolutely aid and comfort to the enemy. I absolutely wonder if you were complicit in this as well. I find it hard to believe that President Biden would do that without you being aware of this. And these are things that we deserve to know better answers, have better hearings on this. I do not believe a word that you're saying on this.
Members of Congress went on to ask a long list of questions about the rapid collapse of the US-backed Afghan government and the Biden administration's scramble to evacuate 124,000 people, including Americans and Afghans who'd worked with them. The congressional hearing was prompted by scenes like this one. Shocking eyewitness video filming desperate civilians attempting to board a US Air Force plane as it prepared for takeoff. Moments later, those unable to get inside the plane could be seen falling from the sky. One of them was an 18-year-old member of the Afghan national football team. EAC News fully supports the Royal Government of Cambodia's preventative and administrative measures against COVID-19. But we need you to play your part in helping bring the 20 February community transmission event to an end. Wash your hands regularly, sanitize wherever possible. Keep an eye on your body temperature. Use the Stop COVID QR code and maintain a safe social distance. But above all, please, please, please wear a mask. Only together can we beat COVID-19. If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me, Andrew Barnes-Roberts, and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear. Parents have welcomed the news that their 6 to 11-year-old children are to be vaccinated against COVID-19. Prime Minister Hun Sen made the surprise announcement on Wednesday. This next phase of the kingdom's child vaccination program will start on Friday morning with an official kickoff at the Peace Palace, which EAC News will broadcast live. The Prime Minister says vaccinating 6 to 11-year-olds is aimed at getting primary schools reopened as soon as possible. EAC News reporter Yuri Matosko hit the streets of Phnom Penh on Thursday to speak to parents and their young children.
From Friday, 1.8 million children between the ages of 6 and 11 will be vaccinated. The campaign makes Cambodia one of only 3 countries in the world vaccinating younger people, after China and Chile. Prime Minister Hun Sen posted an audio message on his Facebook page on Wednesday, declaring the decision was based on studies in many countries. He also said the kingdom has enough vaccines in hand to vaccinate the 1.8 million children in this age group. EAC News took to the streets to ask children if they were scared of needles.
I'm so happy I don't scary. I want to go to study.
I'm not scared. I'm happy to go back to school because I've missed my friends, my teachers, and I miss school.
The thought of going back to school makes me happy and excited. I'm happy to get vaccinated against COVID-19.
Parents told EAC News that they are just as pleased.
I feel happy that the government has launched a vaccination campaign for young children to let them go back to school. I want them to go back to school as normal because they haven't studied for a long time.
I am glad that the government has provided vaccines for children to let them go back to school. I am very happy to let my kids return to school because when they stay at home, they are always playing.
I'm excited to let my kids get vaccinated to protect them from COVID-19, especially the Delta variant. My kids were also very happy when they watched the announcement on TV. I'm very thankful to the Prime Minister for providing the vaccines for my children.
The Ministry of Health has already issued a list of vaccination sites. First shots will be administered from Friday until the 13th of October. Second doses will go into arms from the 8th of October. The birth certificate or passport must be presented in order to receive the jabs. The fear of the needle won't hold up the children's excitement to be finally back at school. They are one of the last groups of students that still needs to be vaccinated. The government says it now has plans to vaccinate children from 3 to 5 years old, but no start date of that phase of the kingdom's vaccination campaign has yet been given. Yuri Matosco, EAC News, Phnom Penh.
A SpaceX rocket blasted off from Florida in the early hours of Thursday morning, Cambodian time, carrying the world's first non-professional astronauts. They'll spend 3 days in orbit, and all they have to do is read the manual, with them having no specialized training at all. Resilience on the launch pad, the nickname for this particular SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule. Aboard, a billionaire e-commerce executive and 3 of his friends, the first all-civilian crew ever launched into Earth orbit. Liftoff came just after 6 a.m. Thursday morning, Cambodian time, from the famed Kennedy Space Center. A webcast of the flight shows 38-year-old Jared Isaacman and his crewmates, 51-year-old Cyan Proctor, 29-year-old Haley Arsenault, and 42-year-old Chris Sembrowski, strapped in wearing their helmeted black and white flight suits. The flight is the first crewed mission into orbit with no professional astronauts. All they need to do is read the manual and press the right buttons. After 3 days in orbit, they'll splash down in the Atlantic. It marks the debut of SpaceX owner Elon Musk's new orbital tourism business and puts him a huge leap ahead of his competitors who are currently offering only a few minutes in zero gravity. Now for a look at some other news making headlines around the world this Thursday, the 16th of September.
South Korea has successfully tested a submarine-launched ballistic missile conducted by the Agency for Defense Development. South Korean President Moon Jae-in and the country's defense minister were at on-site observation post. They say the missile launch was not a response to North Korea's latest one, but scheduled in accordance with South Korea's own missile capabilities reinforcement plan. The missile test came just hours after North Korea fired a pair of ballistic missiles off its east coast, breaching UN sanctions and ratcheting up tensions on the peninsula.
An executive Beechcraft King Air 360 turboprop has crashed in Brazil just 15 seconds after takeoff, killing 7 passengers, including one of the country's most well-known tycoons. Celso Silveira Melio Filho is a major shareholder in the energy conglomerate Cosan. Also aboard were his wife and 3 children. The pilot and co-pilot also lost their lives. The plane had only just taken off from the regional airport of Piracicaba and crashed into a wooded area adjacent to the São Paulo State Faculty of Technology. The cause of the accident is now under investigation. Another plane crash in Indonesia. This one, a small cargo plane which fell into a steep mountainous forest in Papua, killing all 3 crew members. Bad weather and the steep terrain has delayed the recovery of the victims. The Transportation Ministry says contact with the Twin Otter 300 was lost about 50 minutes after takeoff. The aircraft was reportedly having difficulty landing due to the bad weather. Indonesia has been hit by a string of transportation accidents in recent years, including plane crashes and ferry sinkings.
And 15 people are still missing after devastating floods in Turkey's Black Sea region. Footage shows just how widespread the flooding is. Almost 2,500 people have been evacuated. The area has been declared a disaster zone, which frees up government aid. The area was last hit by heavy rain in August. Those floods claimed at least 78 lives.
Prime Minister Hun Sen has launched the next phase of the kingdom's child vaccination campaign for children aged between 6 and 11. The official kickoff took place at the Peace Palace on Friday morning, with some of the Prime Minister's own grandchildren among the first to get their first jab.
Young relatives of the Prime Minister and government officials becoming the first children in Cambodia under 12 to receive their first dose of vaccine. There were some anxious looks, but no tears, as the first needles went into arms. The Prime Minister was on hand to reassure them and check that they were okay. He says deciding to vaccinate this age group was about more than just reopening primary schools.
They are still at the effort of our government in combating COVID-19 through a vaccine strategy to create a higher herd community that we have vaccinated around 80% of the total population. So every day, our immunity, if we vaccinate those who age about 12, there is only 75% of the herd community only. Even in within the family, there is no complete immunity as well, not let alone the community.
Cambodia joins only a handful of countries around the world vaccinating children under the age of 12. The Prime Minister says the next step will be vaccinating 3 to 5-year-olds, although no date has yet been set. But he did stress that everyone in Cambodia who has been or will be vaccinated will receive a third booster dose 4 to 6 months after initial vaccination.
Adults from 18 years old, will the government plan to provide 4 doses for them?
In reply to a question from EAC News, the Prime Minister said a 4th dose cannot be ruled out, but will depend on the COVID-19 situation and the effectiveness of vaccines.
A light at the end of a very long tunnel. Prime Minister Hun Sen used Friday morning's vaccination launch for children between the ages of 6 and 11 to declare that government is working on a strategy to reopen international tourism soon. Although no date has been announced, the kingdom's plan is already in place. Only 7 days of quarantine will be required, but it won't have to be spent in a stuffy hotel room. EAC News reporter Reo Soko explains.
The plan is for fully vaccinated tourists from low-risk countries. Quarantine will be reduced to 7 days, with foreign arrivals in Siem Reap and Sihanoukville being able to travel freely in and around those immediate areas.
They have to be quarantined for 7 days, but it's not in the room. You can go sightseeing at the place where you land. For example, in Siem Reap, we're not gonna quarantine them in the hotel room. We allow them to be quarantined within Siem Reap province. So we will draw the zone, the area for quarantine. They are quarantined, but they can go sightseeing, like they go see the temples, as well as for Sihanoukville. So when they arrive at Sihanoukville, they can quarantine, but they can go to the sea, they go to the islands.
After 7 days, the Prime Minister says they will be free to travel around the rest of the country. No immediate word in Phnom Penh, but details are expected to be released in the coming days. Only on Thursday did Minister of Tourism Thong Kun urge tourism businesses to start preparing for the reopening of tourism. It will begin domestically with Bichumben. Hotels, restaurants, resorts, and transportation businesses are required to follow standard operating procedures as set out by the government. The minister has emphasized that the reopening of tourism relies on people's cooperation. Rhea Soko, EAC News.
Well, now for a look at some news making headlines around the world this Friday, the 17th of September.
Media strongly condemns the beating and temporarily detention of journalist Patient Ligoji, who was covering a protest on Wednesday called by opposition leader Martin Fayulu, who claims he defeated President Felix Tshisekedi in 2018 elections. Some members of Congolese National Police assaulted the journalist and fired tear gas to disperse a handful of supporters of the opposition leader in the Congo's capital Kinshasa on Wednesday. Fayulu is seen as one of the main contenders against Tshisekedi in a likely presidential election in 2023. A government spokesman said in a statement that police had used excessive force and that an investigation would be launched.
Taiwan proposed on Thursday to extra defense spending of about $9 billion over the next 5 years, including on new missiles, cruise missiles, and warships, as it warned of an urgent need to upgrade weapons in the face of a severe threat from their giant neighbor China. President Tsai Ing-wen has made modernizing the country's armed forces a priority as Beijing ramps up military and diplomatic pressure against the island. The amount which comes on top of planned military budget will need to be approved by parliament, where Tsai's ruling party has a large majority. The new arms would all be made domestically, although the United States will remain an important part and technology provider.
And migrants, mostly Haitians, but also Cubans, Venezuelans, and Nicaraguans, were seen seeking asylum by crossing in knee-deep water of the Rio Grande along the U.S.-Mexico border on Thursday. Thousands of migrants were waiting for processing their papers in an overwhelmed makeshift migrant camp under the bridge connecting Del Rio and Ciudad Acuna. Some of them slipped back into Mexico's Ciudad Acuna to buy food, water, and other essentials which they say they are not receiving on the American side. They could be stuck at the camp for up to 5 days. Authorities from Customs and Border Patrol say around 6,000 people were in the camp. This is one of the challenges facing President Joe Biden as border arrests hover around 20-year highs. U.S. authorities arrested more than 195,000 migrants at the Mexican border in August.
EAC News fully supports the Royal Government of Cambodia's preventative and administrative measures against COVID-19. But we need you to play your part in helping bring the 20 February community transmission event to an end. Wash your hands regularly, sanitize wherever possible. Keep an eye on your body temperature. Use the Stop COVID QR code and maintain a safe social distance. But above all, please, 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 wear a mask. Only together can we beat COVID-19. If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me, Andrew Barnes-Roberts, and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear. History was made at the US Open this weekend. For the first time in tennis history, a qualifier has won a Grand Slam tournament. Emma Raducanu has also become the first British woman to lift a major tennis trophy since Virginia Wade way back in 1977. Friends and fans of Britain's Emma Raducanu went bonkers in their local pub in her hometown of Beckenham as the final played itself out across 2 sets. It's been 44 years that Britain has been waiting for scenes like this.
I said earlier on if she was going to win, she was going to win straight sets. I mean, it's just a joke of an achievement for her. I think it was important she got it done in that second set. Fair play to her opponent. She was equally as unbelievable. But yeah, it's nuts.
Britain as a whole went pretty nuts, with everyone from Prime Minister Boris Johnson to the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and even former tennis great Martina Navratilova taking to Twitter to congratulate the country's new tennis queen. 150th ranked Raducanu wasn't exactly expected to do all that well, but then again, neither was her 73rd ranked opponent, the first Grand Slam final ever to be contested by two unseeded players. EAC News spoke to former UK tennis pro Annabel Croft, who is now a presenter for Eurosport. I began by asking her for her reaction to the match.
Well, Andrew, it was an absolute fairy tale in New York for the last couple of weeks. I don't think anyone has seen anything quite like this breakthrough of this gorgeous British girl who came through 3 rounds of qualifying on top of the 7 matches that she won in a row in New York. She didn't drop a single set, and she quite literally blitzed all her opponents off the court. It's been absolutely incredible to watch.
Annabel, the reaction to this has just been incredible. What makes it so special?
I think one of the most impressive aspects of what she did, Andrew, was the fact that she kept walking out into the biggest tennis stadium in the world, the Arthur Ashe Stadium, and just seemed to embrace the occasion. She never looked nervous out there. She took her game to her opponents. She has beautiful techniques on the court. Nothing looks like it can go wrong. She never doubted herself. She doesn't hesitate. And she moves so beautifully around the court. She's got very light footwork. But I think more importantly, she's got real poise and composure. And she seems to play with a lovely smile on her face. And she just is a communicator. She communicates with the fans. I think the whole thing just came together in one perfect storm in New York over the last 2 weeks. She's been congratulated by the royals over here. The Queen has sent a message. I think the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge have also sent messages. So she has really announced herself on the grandest of stages, and it really is honestly a fairy tale.
All the more remarkable was that Raducanu's march to the title required 10 matches, including 3 wins in the qualifying stage, and she did it all without dropping a single set. The new queen of tennis, 18-year-old Emma Raducanu, has it all to play for. Having stunned the sport by winning the US Open on Saturday, she's not just become the first qualifier ever to win a Grand Slam tournament, but also the first British woman to lift a major tennis trophy since Virginia Wade in 1977. While she settles down after a historic win at Flushing Meadows, she's finding the world at her feet. Holding her US trophy with pride, and rightly so, having just made tennis history. Emma Raducanu's astonishing US Open triumph could lead to a pot of gold worth over $25 million over the next 2 years, and that could be just the start. Her mixed Romanian-Chinese heritage and an engaging personality make her what those sports marketing people like to call brand gold.
I think what the actual victory does for her is actually takes her beyond tennis. A lucrative sponsorship deal she'll get just from being affiliated to tennis. So kit supplier deal, rackets deal, there'll be a trainer supplier, all of those sorts of things will come naturally. But what her profile gives her now is a sort of spot beyond tennis. It's, there's going to be a luxury car partner. There's going to be a fashion brand that's going to be interested. There's probably a perfume line that's going to be interested. And so you've already sort of building up that sort of commercial footprint way beyond merely sport.
If she can make this Grand Slam the first of several, then she has, as you say, no limit in terms of how much she can achieve off the court. She's going to be hugely in demand already, but I think to sort of follow that up with sustained and continued success in the majors in tennis, we'll see her rapidly become one of the most marketable athletes on the planet.
Raducanu is already a cover girl for British Vogue's October edition, and major global brands representing everything from fashion to cars and jewellery will be queuing at the doors of her management company IMG. With its global reach and exposure, tennis offers a road to riches for top female players. Of the world's 10 highest paid sportswomen, 9 play tennis. The UEFA Champions League is now underway, and there were mixed fortunes for 2 of Europe's top clubs on Tuesday night. Bayern Munich thumped Barcelona, but Manchester United were surprised by Bern's young boys. In Barcelona, Bayern Munich's top goal scorer, Robert Lewandowski, didn't disappoint. He netted 2 of Bayern's 3 goals, with the other coming from Thomas Müller. It was what sports writers are calling a brutal demonstration of the gulf in class between the two sides. Barcelona have brushed it all off, vowing to do better next time. Man United are also going to have to do better next time after losing 2-1 to the Young Boys. Discipline let them down in Bern, with Aaron Wan-Bissaka earning himself a red card. The coach wasn't too impressed with his team's performance.
But it's in football in general. It's not just in Champions League. Discipline is a huge part of the game, and Aaron's normally a very, very astute tackler. He's one of the best in the world. So we know we've given ourselves a more difficult task than what we did last year, but everyone thought we were through after 2 games last year. You need 10, maybe 12 points. You need to win your home games, win 1 away from home. And of course, we've lost an opportunity to get 3 points, but we've got 2 home games next, and we're going to focus on them too.
Man United fans did have something to celebrate, though. Their prodigal son, Cristiano Ronaldo, scoring their only goal of the night. It was a good night for Liverpool and Real Madrid. Both clubs notched up a win to go top of their groups in the opening round of the UEFA Champions League. Liverpool particularly had a good night, with their manager going as far as saying they got carried away. It was a topsy-turvy outing for Liverpool at Anfield, hosting AC Milan. With fans inside the stadium for a Champions League match for the first time in 18 months, Liverpool began in electrifying fashion with 13 attempts at goal in the first 15 minutes, and eventually went ahead thanks to an own goal by Fikayo Tomori. The scoreboard then flip-flopped for the rest of the 90 minutes, with Liverpool eventually edging out their visitors 3-2.
Yeah, nearly 100%, of course, because it was a brilliant game, very exciting, I think very entertaining, with 10-15 minutes where we lost a little bit the plot, whatever, were not compact enough anymore. It got carried away with our own football pretty much, made it then complicated, which we shouldn't have done in own possession. And last line slightly too deep, midfield didn't closing the gaps anymore and stuff like this. So they could pass through. They scored 2 goals. In a moment like this, obviously the game can be decided, but not tonight, because we could adjust in the half time and did that. Played again really good football and scored 2 wonderful goals, and so won the game, which everyone knew before already, but now probably definitely everybody knows. AC Milan came from pot 4 in this group. Very funny. So that's the quality in that group, and we have. So it is really good that we won this game tonight, because obviously you need each point in this group to get through.
He clearly enjoyed the fact that the fans were back in the stands, though, repeatedly punching the air after the final whistle. Real Madrid had a much more definitive night at Inter Milan, with substitute Rodrigo striking an 89th minute winner to bag a 1-0 victory. For Inter, it was a painful conclusion to a game they dominated for long stretches, but the hosts just couldn't find a way past Real's on-form goalkeeper Thibaut Courtois, who produced several crucial saves. Real are second in the group behind Moldovan's Sheriff Tiraspol, who stunned Shakhtar Donetsk with a 2-0 win on their tournament debut. Their next clash will be away to Madrid. After the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, attention is now swiftly turning to the Winter Olympics, which is just a few months away. Beijing will be the host at a time when China's relationship with the West is coming under increasing pressure. It is still unclear whether spectators will even be allowed into venues. Athletes, officials, and journalists will be asked to work in a bubble environment with limitations on movement and regular testing for coronavirus. At the same time, human rights groups have questioned the International Olympic Committee for allowing China to play host when it stands accused of alleged abuses against Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang province, as well as crackdowns on pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. The Chinese government has denied any wrongdoing. On Thursday, it denounced a new Indo-Pacific security alliance between the United States, Britain, and Australia. It says such partnerships should not target third countries and warned of an intensifying arms race in the region. Some countries are reportedly considering boycotting the Winter Olympics. Just last month, Canada's Conservative Party leader Erin O'Toole said that Canadian citizens may be unsafe there. But China is getting support from Russia, with President Vladimir Putin saying he will be at the Games in a show of solidarity with Chinese President Xi Jinping. From the dog with the longest ears to the world's tallest teenager, Guinness World Records has revealed its latest record breakers for the 2022 edition of its popular book. The annual publication has been released on Thursday, featuring an array of records and feats from the brave to the bizarre. Meet Bethany Lodge, a longtime gymnast who holds the record for the fastest 100-meter forward rolls and the most backwards somersault burpees by a female.
And stop.
Then there's American Zion Clark, born without any legs, who now holds the Guinness World Record for the fastest 20 meters walk on hands. Letitia Key from Ivory Coast has set a new world record for the most skips over a person's own hair. We then got the world's shortest bodybuilder. Pratik Mohite stands just 102 centimeters tall. There's also the world's tallest bodybuilder, Man Mountain Olivia Richters, at a towering 2 meters and 18 centimeters tall. But he's still almost 9 centimeters shorter than the world's newest, tallest teenager, American Olivia Rue. But our favorite new record holder is undoubtedly Canine Lou. He has the longest ears ever recorded on a dog, a whopping 34 centimeters long. All right, let's take a look now at tomorrow's weather. Thank you for watching the weekly roundup here on the EAC News channel. More from the EAC News team in the daily roundup, Monday night at 8. I will see you then. Very good morning to you. 7:30 a.m. on Friday, the 17th of September, the launch of child vaccinations for the age group 6 to 11. Cambodia becoming one of only 3 countries in the world vaccinating children this young after China and Chile. We're expecting the Prime Minister to arrive at the Peace Palace any moment now. Over the past 15 or 20 minutes, the vaccinations have already started. We're assuming these are relatives of cabinet ministers, but we'll get more from that from our reporter Hans Sidivat at the Peace Palace in just a few moments. We are expecting the Prime Minister to give a live media briefing once the vaccinations have been completed, and we'll bring a live simultaneous translation for you as that. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning. My name is Andrew Barnes-Roberts. We'll be through with you until the end of this event at the Peace Palace. Again, the vaccinations of children between the ages of 6 and 11, coming exactly 6 weeks after the start of the child vaccination campaign for children aged 12 to 17. 85% of that age group already fully vaccinated, as we've seen this week, now already back at school. The Prime Minister saying on Wednesday in the surprise announcement about these vaccinations for 6 to 11-year-olds that this was all towards the reopening of primary schools. Given the timeline, we're probably looking at the end of October for the opening of primary schools, assuming that the rollout and pickup of those vaccines is as fast as it was for the age group 12 to 17. So let's go now live to the Peace Palace and EAC News political reporter Hun Siribad. Siribad, very good morning to you. Let me just stress you are no relation of the Prime Minister, even though you share a surname. What do we know about the children who are being vaccinated this morning?
Yes, Andrew. Right now I'm at Peace Palace, where the Prime Minister going to launch the vaccination campaign for the children from 6-year-old to 11-year-old. Yes. Right now, we can see many children, but we did not know yet who will get the first vaccination.
We do know that the Prime Minister extended invitations to people to bring their children and grandchildren. We're also expecting a media briefing once these vaccinations are finished. We're expecting that media briefing at around 8 o'clock this morning. Do we know what the PM is likely to say?
Yes. Right now, beside me is the press conference podium that Prime Minister going to answer the question from the reporter. What we expect that Prime Minister going to tell us what happened next after the vaccination for the children from 6 to 11-year-old, and what he expects that in the future will be like in near soon. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's already told us, hasn't he, that vaccinations for children 3 to 5 is now also being considered, although we don't have a launch date or an exact rollout plan of that. But we guess we're guessing that that's going to be the next phase of this child vaccination campaign. You've been there for hours already this morning, and I can see that blue sticker on your jacket, which tells us that you've been through a few health protocols this morning.
Yeah, it's true. We have to come before 6 a.m. to get check our health and do the quick test. On the ground floor, we have to check our name before we have a quick test that have to get the sample from our nose. We have to wait for 15 minutes before we're ready to go. Yes.
And I can assume from the fact that you're inside the Peace Palace tells us that rapid test was negative.
Yes, sure.
All right, that's good to know. All right, Sirivat there at the Peace Palace for us. We'll come back to you a little bit later this morning. We're just getting our first shots of dignitaries starting to arrive inside the Peace Palace. And again, we don't have the identities of these children who are being vaccinated this morning, but we were told by the Prime Minister in that audio message on Facebook on Wednesday that invitations had already been extended to members of the government to bring children and grandchildren that are in that age group to the Peace Palace this morning. So those children being the very first in the 6 to 11 age group to be vaccinated at the Peace Palace this morning. We do know that the Ministry of Health released a long list of vaccination sites across the capital anyway. As of 8 o'clock this morning, those vaccination sites will be open. We've got a reporting team there, and we'll bring that information to you later in the day. I just want to pick up on a fairly interesting statement that came out of UNICEF late yesterday afternoon. Just responding to the fact that Cambodia is now only the third country in the world to be vaccinating children this young. Important to note, I think, that China is already vaccinating children from the age of 3 and over. Cuba is vaccinating children as young as 2. We also know that there is a Sinovac trial underway in South Africa for children from the age of 6 months. That's a large human clinical trial that Sinovac is rolling out for children, as I said, as young as 6 months. But Cambodia now, one of only 4 countries in the world that is vaccinating children as young as 6. But UNICEF telling us yesterday that countries that are considering vaccinating children needed to note that evidence on COVID-19 vaccinations in children younger than 12 was still emerging. Vaccinations for children under the age of 12 are not World Health Organization approved. The only vaccine that is WHO approved for children between the ages of 12 and 17 is the Pfizer vaccine. UNICEF also pointing out that COVID-19 does not pose a high risk to children and adolescents. As we've seen around the world, there have been very few cases of children coming down with COVID-19. And the UNICEF has gone at pains to stress that schools do not pose a risk of spreading COVID-19. That said, the statement was pretty balanced in the sense that UNICEF also stressed that this has to be weighed up, vaccinating children under the age of 12, getting them back to school safely, or keeping them at home. UNICEF telling us that actually children are not benefiting effectively enough from distance learning, and that education cannot be accessed equally by children because of the lack of proper digital tools, particularly in Cambodia. As we know, there are some areas where the internet connection is very poor or non-existent. UNICEF also stressing that children's development, their mental health, and emotional well-being are being negatively affected by being out of school for so long. As we know, in Phnom Penh, secondary schools returned on Wednesday morning after a 7-month break. Parents and children all telling us that they were really excited to get back to school. And of course, this is affecting people's incomes as well. A caregiver, a parental supervisor has to be staying at home to look after these children. And that, in some cases, for many families, is an income lost because that person has had to give up their job to be at home to look after the children. UNICEF also just lastly pointing out that these prolonged school closures in their education, and that's something the Education Ministry has been telling us for these past few months. Let's just go back to that live footage from our friends at TVK. We're getting our first shots of the Prime Minister arriving at the Peace Palace, looking pretty casual this morning. And he's having a chat with the pretty brave kids that are getting lined up this morning to get vaccinated. The Prime Minister just encouraging them to come forward. Very much playing the role of the nation's grandfather this morning, as he was on the 1st of August, when the child vaccinations for the age group 12 to 17 were launched. The first children there to be vaccinated were the Prime Minister's grandchildren. I don't know how many grandchildren, great-grandchildren the Prime Minister has, and if any of them are at the Peace Palace this morning. Again, these children's identities have not been released to the media. A shot of the stage that the Prime Minister will be giving his address. And I think this is a photo call. These children are all carrying vaccination cards and their vaccination certificates. I can assume that these children have already had their jabs, as we said before we came to you, from about 7:15 this morning. These children were receiving their first jabs. We do know that's Sinovac. We do know that their next jab will be in 21 days' time. And that's exactly the same protocol that has been used for the 12 to 17 age group. The Ministry of Health, about 2 months ago, changing that interval dose from 14 days to 21 days, mindful of just how much more protection it gives people. Just that extra 7 days lifts protection against COVID-19 by Sinovac by almost 30%. From just over 50%, which is the World Health Organization minimum for a vaccine, to about 79%, that extra 7 days. So these children are all being vaccinated at 21-day intervals. We heard yesterday from the Health Ministry that these vaccines, the first doses, are being rolled out between today and the 13th of October. The second jabs will start on the 8th of October. So that's exactly 21 days from now. And they will run through until they are completed. Children needing to bring, or parents needing to bring, their birth certificate and passport to various vaccination sites in order to obtain that jab. All right, so this group that just had the photo call with the Prime Minister are now receiving their jabs. They've got their paperwork, which to all of us who've already had our vaccinations will look pretty familiar. But I can tell you that at least one group of these children did have their vaccines a little bit earlier this morning. Clearly a group being held back for the Prime Minister and get their photographs taken with him just before these jabs are administered. I was never a big fan of needles as a young child, I must say. Prime Minister just giving a bit of reassurance here. Slightly bewildered look on that child's face. You can hardly blame them. But vaccines having been rolled out in Cambodia since February, so these children have certainly known what's been going on. in the country over the past 7 months. Cambodia, one of the most vaccinated countries in the world. Phnom Penh, the most vaccinated capital in the world. And 72% of the kingdom's population of 16 million people have now been fully vaccinated. That magical threshold of herd immunity, which the World Health Organization estimates is somewhere between 75 and 80%, is fast approaching in the kingdom. We know the Prime Minister talking during the visit of the Chinese Foreign Minister, the Prime Minister saying at the Moradok Decho National Stadium that a return to normal life would be coming soon. We know yesterday also the Ministry of Tourism talking to domestic tourism operators. These are the resorts that have been closed, considered high-risk businesses. They've been closed for 3 months now. They've been told to start preparing to reopen and been issued with a list of guidelines in terms of safety protocols, obviously looking at capacity, temperature scanning, QR codes, et cetera, and the tourism ministry saying that Pachumben was the target period for these domestic resorts that have been forced to close to be able to reopen. We know Pachumben will be in the second week of October. So yes, some positive signs that reopening that the Prime Minister has been talking about will be happening over the course of the next few weeks. Just when international borders will be fully reopened, just when as foreign nationals living in Cambodia will be able to go on holiday and come back without needing to pay a $2,000 deposit. That's difficult to say at this time on a Friday morning. Just when that will be lifted, we don't know, but we do know that tourism stakeholders and the ministry, various relevant ministries, are looking at a target date of around November. We understand, with everything else with COVID-19 has been a moving target, but November would seem to be the time when we could expect to see a relaxation of some of those protocols. And just looking at the timeline over the past few weeks, child vaccinations for 12 to 17-year-olds began on the 1st of August. On the 15th of September, secondary schools were allowed to reopen. If we follow a similar trajectory, it would suggest if we're launching child vaccinations for 6 to 11-year-olds on the 17th of September, it could well be the end of October when primary schools are allowed to reopen. And again, slightly fewer children to vaccinate. In the 12 to 17-year-old group, we're looking at about 2 million children. In this age group, 6 to 11, we're being told there are 1.8 million children. So that's 200,000 less children to vaccinate. So I would assume that by the end of October, primary schools can reopen. Whether or not we get more details about that from the Prime Minister's media briefing, we're going to need to wait and see. So let's just watch this process here with this brave young lady getting her first jab of Sinovac. Swab on the arm. Out comes the needle, the dose of vaccine. That's just being shown there to the photographers. And then that shot going into that child's arm. Children reporting very few side effects from Sinovac. And we know from a study by the Lancet journal back in June that Sinovac had been shown to be extremely safe for children as young as 3. China already deciding to roll out that vaccine for 3-year-olds and over. There that needle goes. Yep, not even a wince on the face. I think you probably remember from your own vaccine shots, it's over so quickly. A little bit of tingling around the arm seems to be what most children are experiencing, just like most of us grown-ups. Prime Minister there just checking on that one child who's just been vaccinated, checking that her arm's okay. If you're just joining us, it's just gone 7:45 on Friday morning. The launch of child vaccinations for the age group 6 to 11. Cambodia becoming the 4th country in the world to be vaccinating children this young, after China, Chile, and Cuba. Cuba vaccinating children as young as 2. That's the youngest age group in the world that is currently being vaccinated. But China deciding to vaccinate children from the age of 3 and up. And again, coming back to that Lancet journal study that was released back in June, that it found that Sinovac was highly effective in children as young as 3. Sinovac obviously now taking this a step forward with that clinical trial underway in South Africa, with Sinovac being tested on children as young as 6 months old. South Africa, obviously one of the countries across the continent of Africa, just like many other countries there, a very low rate of vaccination. As we know, the World Health Organization has repeatedly said in recent weeks that richer nations need to or should pause the question of booster shots and child vaccinations to allow other nations around the world to catch up with vaccinations. I don't actually think, I stand to be corrected, but I don't think the vaccination rate across the continent of Africa has even reached 5% as a continental average. Here, though, in Southeast Asia, thanks to our big red friend to the north, we are second only to Singapore across Southeast Asia for the rate of vaccination. Once again, 72% of the adult population has now been vaccinated. Prime Minister there continuing to pose for photographs and just reassure the children who've just had their first shot of Sinovac. They will be getting their next shot in 21 days' time. Sinovac having been shown by the company itself in the weeks after that Lancet report, releasing its own statement that its own trials had shown that it was quite safe for children as young as 3 years old. We do know that that's probably going to be the next step of Cambodia's child vaccination campaign. The Prime Minister saying on Wednesday that consideration is being given to vaccinating children aged 3 to 5, and that will probably be the next step. The question, of course, is going to be vaccines. We know that China's promised another 3 million doses of vaccine. We know that Cambodia has also been promised more vaccine doses from COVAX through the United States, also by the United States through the COVAX initiative. We're assuming that those could well be Johnson & Johnson's single-shot vaccines. But this booster shot obviously requiring just one additional shot. The Prime Minister and his wife receiving their third booster shots at the beginning of this week. They had a third shot of AstraZeneca, being fully vaccinated with AstraZeneca in, I think it was February, March this year. The Prime Minister and his wife receiving their first doses of vaccine. This question of mixing and matching or receiving the same vaccine, I think the thinking at government levels appears to be that if you've had AstraZeneca, it's okay to get a third booster shot of the same vaccine. But it would seem that for those that have been inoculated with Sinovac or Sinopharm, the thinking is that that third booster shot should be an additional vaccine, with Sinovac and Sinopharm both having relatively low efficacy rates against COVID-19. Both World Health Organization approved, both meeting the minimum requirement, but certainly not the level of AstraZeneca, which has been shown, I think, to have about 78 to 79% effectiveness against COVID-19. All the vaccines, though, showing pretty good protection against the Delta variant. They don't guarantee you're not going to get the Delta variant, but if you do, the cases appear to be pretty mild. EAC News has spoken to a number of people who have come down with COVID-19 despite being vaccinated, and all of them say it really was just like having a bit of a bad cold for about a week, but not requiring hospitalization if indeed you do manage to contract COVID-19 despite having been vaccinated. But the aim of the booster shots is to get the Cambodian economy up and running. Of course, the Cambodian economy relies heavily on tourism. We know that tourism arrivals are down 92% year on year. That's no surprise, given that tourist visas have only recently been started to be reissued at embassies around the world. So international tourists are welcome, but again, they do need to be paying that $2,000 deposit and then taking potluck as to which quarantine center they are sent to. Quarantine requiring 21 days if there's been any relation to a Delta case. And of course, that $2,000 deposit, putting a lot of the tourists off visiting Cambodia, as well as that 2-week quarantine period. The Ministry of Tourism, again, just holding a number of meetings with stakeholders over the past recent weeks, saying that it is intending to open sometime in November. And I think all of us are hoping to see a relaxation of that $2,000 deposit and quarantine, particularly for foreign nationals. Cambodian nationals not required to pay that $2,000 deposit, but they are required to self-isolate at home for 14 days on returning to the kingdom. But I think once those two protocols are removed for people that call Cambodia home, we could see, more people heading off on holiday and coming back to Cambodia, encouraging more people to come into the kingdom and then restarting the economy. But it does start with domestic tourism. And again, we're being told by the Ministry of Tourism that local resorts that have been shuttered, considered to be high-risk businesses, they are being allowed to reopen for Pachumbin if they meet Ministry of Health guidelines in terms of social distancing, capacity, temperature scanning, QR codes. You know the drill. So let's look at the timeline here. 1st of August, the vaccinations for children aged between 12 and 17 began. 6 weeks later, almost to the day, secondary schools were allowed to reopen. That same day, the Prime Minister announced vaccinations for children between the ages of 6 and 11. And here we are today, 2 days later, with those vaccinations having begun. Children between the age of 6 and 11, members or relatives of the government ministers and officials being invited to the Peace Palace this morning to start those vaccinations. Vaccination sites around the capital opening in about 8 or 9 minutes' time. We do have an EAC News crew there, and we will bring you that report in the Daily Roundup tonight at 8 p.m. We're live at the Peace Palace, thanks to our friends at TVK, the Prime Minister there just overseeing the first vaccinations of children from 6 to 11. We're expecting just in the next few minutes a media briefing to start. We do have our reporter, Hans Sidevat, our political reporter, live at the Peace Palace for us, and we'll be talking to him after that media briefing has finished. The officials starting to gather. And we're expecting the Prime Minister to start making his way along that red carpet to the podium to address the media within the next few minutes. One parent and child moving off the left of your screen. And just the last of the vaccinations now taking place. As you can see, that chair being sanitized before the next child. We were live for the first phase of the child vaccination campaign on Sunday, the 1st of August. And I can tell you this morning is following exactly the same script. The vaccination starting a little while before the given time of 8 a.m. And that's the time that the Prime Minister will start delivering and taking questions from the media. Vaccination sites around Phnom Penh, indeed in other parts of the country, being open at 8 a.m. And vaccinations rolled out for children at the interval of 21 days. We do know it is the Sinovac vaccine. So 72%, that was as of the 13th of September, of Cambodia's total population of 16 million people have been fully vaccinated. In terms of getting one shot into arms, Cambodia is almost at 100% of its target. But again, that's just one shot. We still need to be giving second shots, but at the moment, about 72% of that total population now vaccinated. And the first phase of the child vaccination campaign, hugely successful, in excess of 85% of 12 to 17-year-olds now fully vaccinated. As we knew on Wednesday, only children that have been fully vaccinated and can show proof of that are being allowed to return to school. Those children who have not been vaccinated are being told to stay at home. Speaking to some teachers this week, we do know that some parents, even though their children have been vaccinated, are not returning them to school. I think out of fear of the Delta variant, they're keeping their children at home. And schools are working with those parents to encourage them to please get their children back to school if they are vaccinated. As we all know, children at a very low risk of COVID-19 infection anyway. Prime Minister, we saw there, just starting to make his way to the podium. That Prime Minister's media briefing expected to start any moment now. Other cabinet ministers now taking their places behind the Prime Minister. The last of the doors closed. Again, you'll note the social distancing here at the Peace Palace, particularly on that podium. All right, the Prime Minister's press corps there, doing what they do best, walking backwards while filming, as the Prime Minister makes his way to the podium to begin this morning's media briefing. Again, stay with us. We will be bringing you a live simultaneous translation in English of what the Prime Minister is saying. Bong So Kim standing by on the microphone. And our political reporter, Hans Sirivad, no relation to the Prime Minister, is at the Peace Palace. He'll be posing some questions to the Prime Minister, and then we'll have a chat with Sirivad once that Prime Minister's media briefing has been completed. Coming up for 8 a.m. on Friday morning, the 17th of September, the second phase of the child vaccination program in Cambodia being officially launched at the Peace Palace in Phnom Penh by the Prime Minister. Over the past 45 minutes or so, we've been seeing young children getting vaccinated, their first doses of Sinovac, and they'll be getting their second jabs in 21 days' time. All right, the Prime Minister now up on the podium, greeting members of his cabinet and the National COVID-19 Commission. I'll now hand you over to Bong Sok-Kim for our live simultaneous translation of the Prime Minister's media briefing on the day child vaccinations for the ages 6 to 11 have been launched. All right, we appear to have a few technical problems from our friends at TVK. A bit of music there, a bit of a musical interlude before the Prime Minister's address starts. As soon as I hear his voice in the background, I'll hand you over. There we go. Bong Sok-Kim bringing you live simultaneous translation.
Today, we are here again to launch the vaccination campaign for children aged 6 to 12 years old, as well as the launching campaign that we, in short, we have already vaccinated. The third boost vaccination campaign for general population who are above 18 years old. This is very necessary for us to do this because we have to step forward in advance. If we don't step forward in advance, the problem could occur, and we would be very hard to recover. Even Singapore, which is a developed country in ASEAN countries, has already expressed in the last few days in terms of the infection in the past 3 days. There were 367 children who got infected by Delta variant. And the senior Minister of Health has announced among 367 children, 50 of them are 1 year old, 73 of them is age 2 to 4 years old. 26 case, age 5 to 6 years old. 158 age from 7 to 12 years old. This is the recent development took place in Singapore, which has a very high medical capacity. So today, Singapore has already released infection rate. So the total infection is 910 new case. So the recent development of COVID-19 is not a normal issue for us. It's a very important issue for the world. For us, we have already done through the collective effort in doing the priority of our work. Up until today, we have vaccinated a remarkable rate, which is considered as one of the countries that has vaccinated most of the citizens. And I will further highlight other issues as well. If we don't consider on this issue, what we are doing right now, we are aiming to solve the three important rights for the children. One is freedom to life, freedom to health care, and freedom to education, because they have to go to a primary school for those children who are aged above 6 years old. If we can handle this issue, we can only reopen the secondary school, which means we lose the foundation of the education. So in order for us to go to the primary school education, they have to go through the foundation. Besides these three freedom and rights, there are still other effort of our government in combating COVID-19 through vaccine strategy to create a higher herd community. That we have vaccinated around 80% of the total population. So every day, our immunity, if we vaccinate those who age about 12, there is only 75% of the herd community only. So even within the family, there is no complete immunity as well, not let alone the community. I have received some message from His Excellency Tusarai. After the announcements, he replied me. He is very pleased. He will bring his kid to vaccinate. So his spouse has already vaccinated, but his two children has not been vaccinated yet. So there are still people who have not been vaccinated. So there is no like complete immunity within the family yet. I have grandchildren. I have many grandchildren. So this pose quite an interesting point as well, because some of my grandchildren are not immunized, so there is no immunity within my family as well. In order to contribute to the herd community, so in order for them to enjoy their rights to education and welfare, we have to include them in the our vaccine strategy. So we could complete that immediately. We are now rolling out the vaccination campaign. We have some vaccine in hand. We have around 4 million doses that I will be soon I will be telling you all about the latest update of our vaccine. So in the past 1 year, our health professional has been working tirelessly. Our frontline official has been very exhausted. I'm still very pleased and very happy about the song Single Teacher, a single doctor. And I would like to appeal to all the youth. The reason why I like listen to the song of a single lady, because my wife was a former nurse as well, and my eldest son is also married to a doctor. Even now, she's has PhD in public health, but she starts from medical field. So just talking out of the bracket a little bit, whether your wife is single or in order to choose your partner, there are 2 points. One is not being too jealousy, and second point, be patient, because my wife is also a nurse, is a midwife. Sometimes they have to deliver the baby like 3 a.m. in the morning. Sometimes they have a standby duty, so they cannot stay with us all the time. So one is that don't be too jealousy, and number 2, you have to be very patient. So when they go to standby duty, so you have to be very patient. I'm not sure if Lô Kim Tiêu, Yu Sambat, and Ốc Văn Đinh experience the same issue or not. So you have to be very cautious about that point. Sometimes, doctor have to go to the hospital, have to have their standby duty. So you have to be very considerate about that as well. So if you are a surgeon, maybe it will affect your performance as well if your wife is being too protective, overprotective, or jealousy. So I would like to update the current situation of Cambodia a little bit so that we can reflect the needs that we have to handle. So regarding the global development, like in the world, it's not getting better. Now it seems to get worse based on the daily updates. So the spreads of COVID-19 has returned. Even in the United States, as of today, there are like 150,924 cases, and there are 1,867 deaths. This is the latest update. However, do you all remember like me? So every Saturday and every weekend, the infection rate decreased. That does not mean the health professional does not work on the weekend. In the few days ago, someone called me and they told me that Chamran told me in Sivanu, governor of Sivanu, saying that the infection rate in US is fluctuating. And then I told him that the rate on the weekend seem to see a decrease, but that I'm telling you that that's the because of the health professional are not working on the weekend. So on the weekday, we see a lot of number, like reaching like 150,000 cases per day. So we see the decrease in on the weekend in the U.S. because of they are on a break; they don't work on the weekend. So in general speaking, even though there's like a vaccination, even in Israel, we see the return of the infection. So in Southeast Asia, it's quite an opportunity that Indonesia has experienced a decrease, dramatic increase of infection. We can also learn from that Indonesian case as well. After the high increase, high infection booming rate in India. Now we see the increase of case in Vietnam and Thailand. Even Singapore, that usually experience a two-digit number, but now they reach the three-digit. So Indonesia rate was around 3,000 only yesterday. So they have like 320 million population. So it's a very remarkable achievement. So for us, we have 16 million population. We 100,000 has been infected. So it's around 0.1% of people got infected. So for Maldives, got infected of around 80,000, and they have a total population of around 500,000, which is account for around 20% of the total population. China now experience a lower rate of infection, and China has 1.4 billion population. So another day, I have a meeting with His Excellency Wang Yi. So for China has 40,000 that while we have around 2,000 that this is what we are paying attention to. So the current development of the global situation has been rising quite a lot. So in our region, we have set out the challenging issue that we should pay attention. Like in Brunei, there has been more infection and also death as well. While this country has only like 440,000 population. So the size of the countries or the population does not matter, but they all experience the infection. So particularly for Cambodia, we have been trying so hard, and we since July. So we're talking about specifically about 20 February community outbreak. So it has posed a very big trouble for us, especially the Delta variant that has been spread to the community back in July up until today. We have been trying to lay out the principle that I have mentioned earlier about the sixth strategy. However, regarding I would like to highlight the three important priority that we adhere every day. One is the prevention. We use the rapid test and quarantine method. So we have a very big concern on this, which is about our worker from Thailand. Because of the good cooperation with between Cambodian government and Thailand, so it makes the return of the Cambodian worker was done properly and smoothly. And also we have to, and also the health protocol that we have to adhere back in Thailand. So our worker has received their vaccination of around 500,000 in Thailand. So it's based on my counselor who worked with the health minister of Kingdom of Thailand. So the number that I sent to the group that has been summed up by Lokim Teo Yuk Sambat. So there are around 70,000 of patients at the quarantine center along the border. So now we have only around 7,000 of them. So for those who return home from Thailand, mostly got infected and they infected by Delta variant. So our effort in controlling and preventing of the imported case and the prevention of the spread through quarantine method and also the rapid tests. So the rapid tests provide us the opportunity to manage the signal and also reduce the speed of infection. This is another experience that I would like to lay out another health protocol. This is I'm not making order, but I want to give some suggestion so that you can make the health principle. So our experience back in at the stadium when there was the official handover ceremony, which is an unconditional aid from the People's Republic of China. So one of our press, so it's positive. So we don't actually exclude those who staying next to the positive press person at all. We are not quarantining them. So one of the people at that scenes was of my cameraman. So in the future, if we happen to find any positive case, so we better isolate people who are involved in that scenes and to stay in the quarantine. So this is just a reminder for the health sector. For example, now there's like this kind of event. So everyone here, so we queue up for getting the rapid test. So if so the first person got the positive, so the one in the front and the back should so there's a possibility that the people around that infected person could get infected as well. So we better put them in the quarantine. So they might be walking around. So it could be there possibility that they could spread the disease to other people. This is about the experience about rapid test and the quarantine. And the second method is the vaccination, or we can use another term. Vaccination roll out on children and adults. So vaccine strategy that I am the one who I'm the commander on this vaccination campaign. I'm not vaccinated people at the random place. Maybe our press people and our citizen has already listened to my voice message. Back then, there was a province has the problem with COVID-19 and they request for the vaccine. So they make a request to me personally and also to the vaccination campaign committee as well. So if we vaccinate them randomly, we don't, it would not be effective. So we have to vaccinate people in the city and also in Gondal province first. Later we vaccinate everyone in other areas. I believe that this can make the effective herd community. So the Australian media said that because Cambodia is close to China, it make the Cambodian capital got the highest rate of vaccination in the world. So I would like to clarify that without the management and also of the the command in the vaccination campaign, the vaccine would not be effective as well. It's not because of the intimacy between Cambodia and China, but because of the management and also the command. So if we share to this to random area, so it won't create the immunity. For example, now we get 2 million doses. So we share everyone equally. For example, big province get this much based on their population. So let's say now Phnom Penh has a 2 million population. So at the end, we can only vaccinate 300,000 people. So there's no immunity here. So that's why I decided to vaccinate everyone in the capital, and later we push to the province, and then we select the province to disrupt the infection. So we choose Koh Kong and Sihanoukville. And then we roll out to other province and other district. So we set the priority of the district as well. So this is according to our plan and strategy. So we're using the blossom approach. So we start to roll out from the capital to other province. So everywhere we use the same approach. So we focus on the urban area, and then we roll out to other nearby district or commune. So this is being implemented everywhere in the country. So we focus on the center of the people, and then we roll out to the nearby area. And the third method is the usage of medicines and other treatment protocol. So regarding the COVID situation, it's now under our control. We observe the effectiveness of the vaccine. So we take a look at Phnom Penh and Kanda province. This is an area that has the most infection. Now we see the decrease of infection. So TIDA team has worked with Phnom Penh municipality. So in a week, we compare between April and May. We notice a decrease of infection. Secondly, the development to the severe case, even though they got infected, there is less as well. So some infected person does not even know they got infected. And on top of that, there is a less death case as well. And back then, Cambodia, Phnom Penh was leading in terms of death toll. It's not Phnom Penh citizen. Other province send the patient to Phnom Penh as well. So we experience we get the more death rate comparing to other province. So recently we noticed that the death rate has becoming less. So it decreased from 3-digit number to 2-digit number. And the past few days we experienced like a 1-digit number, like 8 or 9 deaths. Someday I noticed that there were 6 death case only. So we observe, we notice that. So when the vaccine, when you are vaccinated, it will prevent you from getting a severe case or even the death. That's why some people got vaccinated, but some place does not follow the 3 do and 3 don'ts. This is a point that we need to pay close attention as well. So the team led by Dr. Tiêu Ao Van Din should educate further about this. So vaccine alone is not enough. So we need to also adhere to the principle of three do and three don't. We have to continue following and adhere to this principle. So the education, administrative procedure, and also legal procedure, in addition to the health safety protocol, has to be continue carry out strictly. Or else our citizen it's not that we get vaccinated and we don't get infected. This is the situation of COVID-19 in Cambodia that has been happening. So now let's talk about the situation of our vaccine status. I would like to inform that based on the report by Dr. Tiêu Áo Văn Điền, so our launching day, we have available in stock 4.2. We have 424,907 doses. So today we launched the campaign for Phnom Penh, Kandal, and Sihanouk, and also Koh Kong province. We need to use vaccine of around 70,000. We need to use around 27,000. So for the children of around 380,617 children. So we have around 4 million doses of vaccine. So this is not include some vaccine that we have available in the province. So they are getting ready to send it back to Phnom Penh. So personally, I don't. I make sure that our soldier have all the necessary weapon and bullet. So if we don't have enough weapon, so I will not command my troop. So without this vaccine, I would not make the comment as well. So after providing to the province of around 700,000 doses, we still have around 347,000 doses, and we need to send to the province that need to start launching as well. So the total is 321,332 doses. This is the actual demand. So now it has been delivered. So after the distribution, we still have some vaccines, which is so we still have around 450,000 doses of vaccine. So this excludes the vaccine available at the province that has to be transferred back to Phnom Penh. Because if they have Sinovac, so they can use that to vaccinate the children as well. So are these vaccine enough? So in October we will start the booster dose campaign as well. So I would like to inform that this 24, another 3 million doses will arrive. Around 26 or 27, another 3 million will arrive. This is from the purchase order. So we have already set out a clear timeline. So we have already made the payment. So by 24, we will get another 3 million doses. So in 7 days, in a week, we will get another 3 million. And another 3 million doses. I talked to directly to Logan Tiêu Sambat to talk to Sinovac companies to get another 3 million doses, and we want it urgently. So in 20 hours, we got the confirmation of another 3 million doses from Sinovac. So it's just that they told us that maybe 26 or 27 it will arrive of another 3 million doses. So in September we have another 6 million doses that we have in our stock. So in addition to another 400,000 doses. And another, this let alone 3 million doses that is provided by the government of China. So I'm sure that it will be soon that we get this another 3 million. So for Sinovac, that will arrive in the upcoming time, it will be in a total of 9 million doses. So we have the promise from our friend Australia that will provide us another 2.3 million doses of Pfizer, and also with the cooling system of 80 degrees below zero. But we are not sure about the time as well. I don't dare to ensure about this. But with China, I'm pretty sure about the timeline. So the flight takes only a few hours. But I hope that our good friend Australia will also help us. But I will still need our vaccination committee to continue pay close attention. We need to follow a standard. So for those who get the first and the second dose, they are supposed to get the third dose. So we need to set the standard, or else it will not, or else our vaccination is not effective. So regarding the test on the antibody, it's not effective. For me, I got my blood checked by the doctor. There's still very low antibody. That's why the doctor advised that I should get another third booster dose. So it based on the individual. Some people have more antibody, but some has less. But it's better when we get the third dose or booster dose. So the doctor got my blood check, and there is less antibody. So because I have to meet some of the guests, or else I will vaccinated before 14. Today is so maybe now it's for around 48 of my third. Now it's 72 hours after my third dose. So the health professional asked me to have some diet. My wife eats some have some crab since yesterday. So there's some dietary restriction from the health professional. And yesterday I had some of my ginseng wine. So regarding the vaccine, it's not an issue for us. We have a vaccine in hand. At least we have 9 million doses to serve the vaccination campaign, especially the third dose. As of today, we have for the third dose, we have vaccinated around 800,000 population. Because of the need of the third dose, so we vaccinate 13 million, so we have to find another 13 million to vaccinate people. Because we use the principle of first, second, and third dose. Those who get the first and second dose has to get the third dose. So we need to adhere to this principle, or else the antibody or the immunity will be fading. So the first and the second dose will be not effective. So the booster dose is a good solution. So our vaccine we have that much that I have told earlier. So 4 million is now being trafficked to children's. I have talked before. So in the past, the child has to find the school, but now situation like the school has to follow the children. Before the child was looking for the vaccine, now the vaccine is looking for the children. This is based on the recent development. We need to do this. Talking about the vaccination, according to the statistic from last night, so for the target of 10 million, account for 98%, 98.05%. This is for people age above 18 years old. For children age above 12 years old, we have complete 87.54%. So for the total, we have cover 72.04% of the population that got vaccinated. So if we use the statistic from 15, so people who got their first dose from 12 years old, it accounts for 11 million, around 11.5 million, and which is account for 96%. And for those who get the second dose is around 9.8%, which is account for 82.65%. And those who get the booster dose, so they get around like 798, 900 dose. So if we take a look at the group of people aged from 12 years old, and we compare to the total population of 6 million, so we have achieved 71% and a second dose is 61%, and for the booster dose we have achieved the number that I have mentioned earlier. Let me talk about the vaccination campaign to the children and the booster dose for general population. Today, we launched our campaign that I have already highlighted earlier. From today, talking about Sihanoukville, they has experience. It takes only 7 days to vaccinate the people, and then they wait for the second dose. We have to be careful as well. The Ministry of Health has to be very cautious because the kid is afraid of the needle. So this morning I go to try to reinforce and motivate my grandchildren during their vaccination and ask them whether it's hurt or not. One of my grandchild is very brave. So one of my grandchild get injection first. So I woke up around 3 a.m. this morning. I saw this civil society in Australia that show about concern, and some of our citizens also about the concern. So the concern on the death of the children is our main concern. When we cannot fully control the situation, adult who die is normal, but children is more important because they are the backbone of the society. So the number of the children that we have to vaccinate. So it's around 1.9 million of the children that have to be vaccinated. This is based on the this is done on the voluntary base as well. Because if they are too young, they are not maybe strong enough. I still have another 3 children, grandchildren, that are not allowed to get the vaccine. So one of my grandchildren just most of my grandchildren use the like holy necklace, wear the holy necklace, even the bracelet, even the necklace. There are still 3 of my grandchildren now is being under control, and there are still 3 of them left. So it should be voluntary based. So their parent, we need to get the agreement from the parents. So we need to interview their parent and ask their parent and get the agreement. So for our, so we vaccinate the adult. We need to have like a 1 chair for the adult, but now we need to have like prepare like 2 chairs, because we need to interrogate the parents to get the agreement before we can give the vaccine to the children. So kids are afraid of the needle, so sometimes they cry because of the injection. I saw a kid from the Facebook, like the kid does resist, like one of the soldier, maybe Indonesian soldier is very afraid of the needle and does not want to get injection at all. So it should be based on the should be voluntary base from the psychological aspect, because parents, grandparent has already vaccinated. So there's the movement, there's a force here that encourage the kid to get vaccinated. So there's some comment on my Facebook, like saying that it would be better if it is lower to kid to age from 5 years old. Even like Nana, grand doctor, can vaccinate as well. So vaccine has become a normal. So there are 12 vaccines for the children. So COVID-19 will become the 13th vaccine for the children. So it will become another important vaccine for the people. So let's see how the situation goes around the world. So when I'm talking about the vaccine obligation, so we draft the law, we make the law, and some of the NGO propose me to get rid of the obligation vaccine. So I want you to talk to the French president to get rid of the vaccine obligation.
because around like 3,000 of the health professional does not agree to get the vaccine, and they don't get paid. So now also in the U.S., all the federation official has to be vaccinated. I'm not being a coach here, but I predict that the situation will go that way, and I believe that in the future, those who reject the vaccine, like they are eligible for vaccination, but reject the vaccine, will be might be isolated, or maybe people will not dare to socialize with them, like because like everyone in their neighborhood are vaccinated, but one of that house maybe does not got vaccinated. It could be like locked down in that area, so it could develop to that situation, because like everyone in the family got infected by COVID-19, so that's why they have to isolate them, and even they are not allowed to go to work as well. This is my prediction. So all the countries in the world has to push for the vaccination. Some of the companies in other countries does not recruit those who are not vaccinated. Now they are preparing to create a vaccine passport. Without that, they are not allowed to enter the countries. So we are preparing for the vaccine tourism as well in the future. If we, according to the census, people who age about 18 years old, or people who age about 12 years old, so we have 12.7 million. So we have additional people we have been vaccinated. So the number is 14.6 million. So our coverage now, we have around 96% of the total coverage. So we compare with other countries, it's quite a high number. This is not a competition, but Cambodia has the obligation to protect the life of the people. And we have the obligation to recover the socio-economics, including the education, which is a priority amongst other important sectors. So is the education minister is here? Yes. I hope that our vaccines will be processed smoothly according to our previous experience. For the vaccination campaign of the third dose or booster dose for general population, start from next month, October, but there are steps
So we kick off in Phnom Penh and Kandal, and then we start rolling out to other provinces. So we have the interval from 4 to 6 months. So we don't need. So there we have steps to roll out the vaccine. We don't need a lot of vaccine that urgently. Like for example, for Posat, we distribute to the district, to some district in Posat, and then for the district that get vaccine later, we have to be distribute later too. So it has to be very clearly in terms of this distribution, so that we can distribute to the to other part of the countries accordingly. Based on what we have done, it's not only our country that have vaccinated young children. Some country has already done that. In China, Cuba, United Emirates, Peru, El Salvador, Germany, and US and Israel are still working on the vaccination for the children process. If we take a look at the United Emirates, this is a very developed countries that so Chile just decide to use a Sinovac to vaccinate as well. So we have to step forward in advance. We have to protect our children. We have to protect our child and children, making sure that they can live the life. They can get the health protection from us as elder people, making sure that they can go back to school with safety for both student and teacher at the primary school. If we can reopen the primary school, the reopen of secondary or high school is not effective as well. So because there's a disruption there. Now, if we take a look at the rural area, regarding the reopening of school, so today is the third day of the reopening. So the number of the school that has reopened and they has been submitted to me. We have reopened 2,641 schools. One of the three is a kindergarten. 1,500 is a primary school. 716 is a secondary. 272 is a high school. And I have a process that I would like to remind the approach of reopening the school for the relevant authority. So first is for the school in the rural area that has no risk or low risk, and other educational institution can be reopened to follow like for the cluster of no more than 15 people, and need to follow the SOP of the Ministry of Education and adhere to the principle of the Ministry of Health. And to the area with average risk, we need to provide priority to grade 9 and grade 12 students, because they have to have the exit exam. So regarding the exam date, they have to be examined and studied, because that we can put them into exam right after we reopen the school. So it has to be pushed back a little bit in terms of examination date. Thirdly, at the high risk area, yeah, we should continue online learning. For the high risk area, we should continue online learning. For need to establish the school management committee joined by the board member and also parents and also local authority to support the school, and also decide and also joining in making decision to close whole operation of the school in case of any problem. So this is to prevent the spread into the school. So I would like to appeal to all the local authority to continue be careful and continue to evaluate the situation on the spread of COVID-19 at the local level, as well as the rapid test done when there's any doubt, so that we can lay out the method to prevent it effectively. This is a point that I would like to highlight. I would like to highlight this to our compatriot about the points that I have raised, that we have done. But for the point that we have to done in the upcoming, because I will give reserve some time for our press to ask me some question. If it aligns with my plan, I will answer accordingly. If any point that is not planned yet, I will clarify on that as well. Thank you for paying attention. Next, I will provide the floor to our press person to ask a question. Please. So, you are allowed to not wearing the mask. So my respect to our Prime Minister. So I'm Sarai Watt from AAC News. I have two questions. So the first question is about vaccination for children aged from 6 to 12. So will there be the third dose for them? So the second question is for adults from 18 years old. Will the government plan to provide fourth dose for them? And when will it be? And the government continue to provide free vaccination or not? Another question, many Cambodian people have received the second and third dose. So regarding the high-risk business, will like Beer Garden and pub, when will the government consider to reopen those high-risk business? So I'm not sure about your first question. So the first question is, will there be the third dose for children aged from 6 to 12? And will there be the fourth dose for people who age above 18 years old? I don't get the third question. So the first question is regarding the third dose. So does government plan to provide the third dose to children aged from 6 to 12 or not? And for the fourth dose, for adult aged from above years old, will the government have a plan to provide the fourth dose? And will it be free of charge? Do you hear the last part? I heard the fourth dose. Will it be free of charge for the fourth dose? So the last question is about the reopening of the high-risk business like beer garden. Okay. I would like to clarify. So regarding the third dose for children, will there be a plan of government? And for the adult age from 18 years old, will there be a fourth dose? And will it be free of charge too? And the second question is about high-risk business. So will the government plan to reopen those high risk? Because now many people get a second and third dose. Thank you for the question. First, it's about the first question. I just mentioned about that. So our principle, those who get the second dose have to get their third dose. This is, I want to talk about the general implementation. So for the children from 6 to 12 years old, it applies to them as well. So I have mentioned, I cover all age. So those who get their second dose have to get their third dose. This is the general principle. And the second question, will there be the fourth dose or not? This depends on the development of the situation of COVID-19 and the manufacturing of the vaccine and its effectiveness. We have to keep track on this issue in our real implementation and also the current development of the world, together with the effective of the vaccine that we have to pay attention to. And also with the regular appeal from the World Health Organization. I know that some of our foreign friends has used the fourth dose, but I would not highlight or the countries. But yeah, they have already got the fourth dose. So they got the foundation dose, the third dose, and they also get the fourth one. If we need to go for the fourth dose, we need to spend more money. But if it is the necessity, of course we have to do that. We have to do that. It really depends on the future development, like how the situation will go. Regarding the third question about the reopening, if the situation is getting better, we will reopen everything. So who would want this situation? So nowadays, our people want to hang out, want to travel. But I want to begin with this point. So first, let's begin from the educational sector, and later we reopen the service sector. So for this sector, I want to follow two steps. For the first step, I want to reopen the local tourism. Because our people want to hang out, want to travel on the weekend, on the national holidays. This is an opportunity for our people to know better about our countries because they can travel abroad nowadays. Yesterday, I told to Sai Zamal when he reported to me about community tourism at the protection zone. There are more people visiting, and the citizen contribute in protecting the forest and natural resource that serve the tourism. So I send a voice message to be ready, because there will be some natural site that will be visited by our Khmer people. So don't underestimate the local tourism. So our local people spend a lot of money. So foreign tourists are very on budget, but our local people dare to spend a lot of money. So it will benefit the local people over there because they can sell stuff over there. So they can provide the rental, the accommodation service, or maybe camping tent, camping site. So they can be the tour guide for the people to see different trees, and the restaurants will be reopened, because that's the current of the economics. That's also related to the demand of the local people, and it's also income, the revenue for the government. So they drink the CST. So there's a tax over there. So we get the revenue. We afraid that the people don't have money to spend. So people want to travel. So I'm working on that. So we are now planning to reopen the local tourism. Nowadays, this disease we have more of the immunity in the community. Like in Siem Reap, I discussed with Logam Tiêu Yu Jambat and His Excellency Mon Heng. I was on a phone call with the governor Tia Seha. There are 4 communes does not have to be tested, just use the medication. Just we assume that they all are involved in the COVID-19, so we just provide them medicine. So after 1 week, we will test everyone in those 4 communes. So unless there is any symptom, that's when we have to send them to the quarantine center or hospital. But without any symptom, we just provide them medicine and observe. So at Kopek Center that we used to sit around 100,000 people, now we don't have we have very less. So many people receive the home treatment. People in Phnom Penh. So regarding the travel and hang out, it could be possible. So the cafe shop and restaurant, but has to follow the health protocol, 3 do's and 3 don'ts. So of course, when you go to the restaurant, you cannot always wear the mask. But when you have to eat, of course, you have to remove your mask. So that's the first step. So for the second step, I want to link with some other countries about the vaccine tourism. So I will give some idea for consideration for our Council of Ministers and also as well as the Ministry of Tourism. So for those who have received sufficient vaccine, can visit Cambodia. For those who get the sufficient vaccine, they have to be quarantined for 7 days, but it's not in the room. You can go sightseeing at the place where you land. For example, in Siem Reap, we're not gonna quarantine them in the hotel room. We allow them to be quarantined within Siem Reap province. So we will make the draw the zone, the area for quarantine. They are quarantined, but they can go sightseeing, like they go see the temples, as well as for Sihanoukville. So when they arrive at Sihanoukville, they can quarantine, but they can go to the sea. They go to the islands. Another day, there was there's a missing point. I forgot to discuss with a foreign minister of Republic of China. I want to cooperate on this point. There are 7 day quarantine, but you are entitled to travel and hang out in that province. You are not gonna be in the room. After 7 days, you can travel outside of the territory or boundary. So please consider on that point. So we are now preparing the strategy so that we can continue to reopening our tourism. Don't forget this point. So for the economics of the developed countries, most of the service sector is the leading sector. Even like the US, France, Germany, Japan. Agriculture cover some percent, very little. Agriculture cover less than like 11%, but they capable of feed their people. But the main income is from the service. So now the issue rests on the service. So we solve the vaccine problem. It's not only to protect the people's life, the social economic, the recovery, the reopening of this is necessary. We are willing to spend $100 million buy vaccine so that we can generate more billions of US dollar later for the Cambodian economics. This is for the Cambodian economics. So our agricultural sector, we exceed the target. So we get like 110% of our target. So for our seasonal rice, we get around 600 million tons, and for the rainy season, exceed the target. There's around like 3 million hectares of the rice farming. So our industry operate normally. Now there are many purchase order. Now they make order of this mass. So we have to provide the mass to our police and our soldier, and we use the logo of our police and our military. There are four factory that used to focus on producing masks. Now they switch to producing clothes because there are more purchase orders. So EBA is not really important for Cambodia. Cambodia export. It's not only now there are more new factory manufacturer because Brazil cannot supply, Bangladesh cannot supply, Myanmar cannot supply as well. Now it also affects Vietnam. Now they are making purchase order from Cambodia because Cambodia is safer. So one of the missing point of us is the service sector, which is particularly tourism, both local and international, and both restaurant, cafe, coffee shop. So now like a cup of coffee costs like $5 or something, or $7 US. Is it the case? Yeah, Cambodian now they are to spend money. If this service is reopened, our people have we have so they provide job. One of the solution is that we solve provide job opportunity. So I would like to appeal to all the tour guide. So make sure that you have the vaccine because you might not be admitted to lead the tour. So if you don't get vaccinated, you might not be able to cover this visa tourism, vaccine tourism. So you need to be vaccinated to be a tour guide at Siem Reap. I would like to appeal to all of the tour guide so that you won't be regret later. So by then, if you need to request, you need to propose for the vaccine. So if when you are allowed to get vaccinated, where were you? Now you are trying to get the vaccine. So for the fourth question, regarding the vaccination of kids aged from 3 to 6 years old. Based on the plan that I'm about to inform, there's a request for the National Vaccination Campaign Committee to conduct more study on the possibility of vaccinating people aged from 3 to 6, which account for around 91,546 people. This is the upcoming work that I'm about to tell. So you asked the question. So let's say that I'm assigning this task to the vaccination committee and the medical professional to conduct a study on this to see the possibility from 3 to 6 years old. So we might need another 2 million doses of vaccine if it is possible. So within household, there's only a baby who is not vaccinated because they are vaccinated other vaccine for like chicken pox or other disease. So they are getting ready for going to the kindergarten. These are my response. Any other additional question? My sincere respect to Samdech Cho, Prime Minister, Samdech Lok Yom Teo, who are here. So I'm Raksa from BTV. I have a lot of questions, but you have already covered many points. And our team has, and our college has already covered some of the points. So I just want to clarify. You already mentioned about home treatment. So there are people who with a mild symptom who can stay at home for the treatment. So nowadays we are still have a COVID-19 infection, but most of the cases are mild. So does the government has any plan for the mild symptom to for home treatment? And then we only prepare the place when they have developed to the severe case. This is the question. So currently, the vaccination for COVID-19 has a very good progress. So our government provide vaccine for free of charge. So government also allowed the private company to import the vaccine to offer to any citizen that need other type of vaccine. So does the government has any principle in limiting the price for a private company that import the vaccine? Does any any policy on limiting the market price and also the profit margin, making sure that the price is not too expensive? So is there any principle or policy in limiting the price and also the profit margin of the original cost of the vaccine or not? Thanks for the question. Regarding treatment, as we can see, there are three type of situation. One, those who have disease that have to be that are supposed to be treated at the hospital. This rate continue to decrease because of the vaccine coverage getting higher. So those who are in a severe condition continue to decrease. The second treatment is treating at the area and venue that we have prepared. We continue to provide treatment those people are not cannot afford for home treatment because of the small house. So we still welcome the patient for the treatment. There are some area in Phnom Penh that we have closed, like for example in Kopek, we sit around like 100,000 of a patient. We have already closed. We encourage the home treatment. And the home treatment is the implementation of some like since the beginning in developed country like France, because one of our ambassador is got infected by COVID-19, so they are provided some medicines for home treatment. The hospital only accept the severe case. So we encourage the home treatment. But the point that we have to be cautious is the Delta variant. If it is found, if Delta variant is detected, we have to manage, we have to control, making sure that Delta cannot spread from that household, from that person, like from that individual to other members, and from a household to other households. That is the point that we have to pay attention. Nowadays, it seems that Delta and Alpha they are pretty similar. Both Delta and Alpha, the patient is not conscious about being infected. One of the critical points, the impact of Delta, the impact of one of the critical points is that it is transmitted rapidly. But once it infected to a person, it's just like Alpha. But we have to be very careful and trying to prevent the spread of Delta. We always do the analysis based on the sample, the infection of Delta variants, and the area where it got infected. The second point, which is about whether or not a private company can do that. We provide opportunity for the private company to work on that. We have already provided opportunity for them. So the issue rests on whether those private company can make a purchase, can find the vaccine or not. So that's the issue. It means that some countries are rich countries, but they don't have a vaccine for their citizens. This is not that we buy like a small pack and then like it is delivered by a normal plan. For Pfizer, it has to be stored in a 60 degrees Celsius below zero. So the question is whether or not those private companies are capable of doing that. There are the vaccines that has require critical temperature, like it has to be very cold. We allow that. In the past, we know that before we want to buy ticket to get a vaccine in France so that we can get a good vaccine. Now we use another term, driving a car to get vaccinated in Prevain, in Bong Khmom. Why?
Because we send Johnson to Praveng and to Bong Kumum and other areas. Some people chase for that vaccine. They travel to get those vaccines. I got some voice message. It happened in Praveng. People in Praveng from like near Kraing, so like they come to Praveng to get the vaccine. So we follow principle one Cambodia, which means anywhere you can come from anywhere. If you are here, you can get the vaccine. You don't have to be a local there to get the vaccine. So that's why they travel from other place to get vaccine. Sometimes they like provide some money, like for example, like 500,000 real to the doctor to get the vaccine. So this create a rumor as well. But we are about to run out of Johnson too. We have some left that we distribute to Bong Kumum province. We have like Sinovac and Sinopharm. So what is the third question? There's only two questions. I have two questions, but another point is about the policy. So you mentioned that there is no any private company that afford to buy the vaccine. So what if the private company could import the vaccine? So does the government has any policy or any plan to set the market price? So normally they will make profit out of that in terms of massive profit margin. So will the government regulate that? I want to talk about the market aspect, market economy. So they have to make, of course, they have to make profit. But government has to also follows and monitors that issue as well, because this is the regarding the market economy is about the seller and the buyer. If they sell in a high price and the buyer does not buy, that's really up to you. Of course, we will make the some appeal to we need to appeal to make sure that that the price is overpriced. So if let's say if they are not volunteer to get the vaccine provided by the government, I'm sure that they are willing to spend money for the expensive vaccine, like a rapid test. So they share they on Facebook that it's very expensive, and then I asked about that, and then they provide the logical reason. They are not only providing rapid tests; they include the price of the outfit of the health professional and some other service. So if you want to avoid the overprice, so you should come to the place that provide service for free of charge, because you are avoid on your own. So when you go to the private sector, you complain that it's too expensive. But then when we provide for free from the public service, you're not coming. So I was asking about that issue as well. So private clinic tell me that they include the price of the outfit in order to get test for a person. Then they need to spend money on the rapid tests, like that cost like $2 or $3. But they also include the outfit of the health professional and other service charge as well. So the final price is quite expensive. So if you don't want to pay that expensive price, you should come to the venue that we assign for that job. So we have prepared many venue for that testing. So we have the facility, we have the venue for getting the free test. So regarding the price regulation, the government intervened into this issue. So you complain that I am communist, but now you're making me becoming a communist. So for the plan economy, or maybe communist economy, so the government set the price. So when the government intervene into price regulation, that considered as the plan economy. That's why some extremists criticize the Phnom Penh government as a communist government, but they don't know what is planned economies and what is a free market economy. Even the economy in the country that led by one party, like in Vietnam and in China, the government of China and Vietnam does not intervene into that price regulation. It let the market flows. So it's the combination between buyer and seller. Let them interact and do this in a transaction. So for some people who are not knowledgeable enough, they criticize me as a communist, but instead they push me to be a communist. So I just appeal. I can appeal to the private sector to not charge the overprice, but we are not able to regulate the market price of the vaccine. So I would like to welcome more questions. So my sincere respect to Somnat and others. His Excellency ladies, and I'm Asarai from Fresh New. First, I would like to express my sincere thanks to Somnat Dacho that has launched the vaccination campaign for kids from 6 to 12 years old that enable my two children to get vaccines, and they express their sentiments and their excitement about this. So they have been in home for for many months already. So they are very pleased about this new. I have a suggestion and I have 3 questions that is from our president. So the question is about our student who get scholarship in China. So they have returned. They have returned the country, and they do the online learning, and they are not able to return to China. So their online learning affect their quality of study. So they want to make request to Samdech to help with this issue so that they can go back to China
So they are okay to follow any health protocol or safety protocol by the Republic of China because they complain that online learning affect the quality of the study. So there are three questions. So you have highlight about the fourth dose. That which is still consideration. So, what if there is a fourth dose? Will the government under some like the Joe, will the government can afford to provide a vaccine for free or charge or what? So we are interested to know about the responsibility and the application of under the leadership of Samdech to ensure the life of the people in combating against COVID-19. So the second question is that you have already raised about vaccine tourism. In this context, I would like to ask Samdech as well. So Cambodia one of the target of the target for the Chinese tourism. So for China, they have vaccinated around 2 billion doses of vaccine. In China, they have managed the COVID-19 very well, and we are doing well as well in our country. So will Cambodia and China will have any discussion or cooperation to link open the tourism between China and Cambodia so that it will help people who are working related to the tourism. So the third question is, it's a bit out of the topic, but because there is an activity about the politics in the past few days, there was a leak of your video about hacking into an online Zoom meeting of opposition party that has been described as a devil spirit. So there's those people seem to express some hope that the intervention of Samdech is a signal, and it's like the reincarnation, like the way you try to hack into the Zoom meeting is giving them some hope. Does that mean giving them hope or what? Can you please clarify? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sarai. So the first question about our student who are studying in China, I have seen that as well. I see the comment on my Facebook page. They request that I help them so that they can go back to study in China because they return home from China early 2020. So do you still remember on this aspect? I noticed since the very beginning. I concerned about their future. And some people criticize, and now you see the reality. Back then, I said that if I was a student run away from China at that stage, I concerned that it will be hard for them to go back to China. That's why I go to China. On one side is to pay a visit to pay my to provide to motivate them and provide encouragement in combating COVID-19. And on another side, it's another message to our student in China to leave the country when during the hard time. Now it's developed to it has developed to the current situation. Now they might think that during the hard time you ran away from the country, so it's better you can do the study, do the learning online. So we will not stop giving support and effort. I will. So His Excellency Hong Chun Arong, please discuss with our good friend China about that, so that our student can go back and study in China. This is similar to the story that happened in North Korea. Back then, Thailand prepared the plan to evacuate the worker from South Korea. Back then, North Korea declared that they will go into war with South Korea. Some of the opposition party has made a lot of criticism. Has criticized me that I don't pay enough attention to our worker, because I made comment that if the Korean citizen can live in that situation, so we learn to live, we learn to adapt to that situation. If you run away from the country, there is no hope that you can go back to the country. This happened the same to Khmer student. Some countries continue studying until they graduate, and some students run away from the country. So now it's happened just like what I mentioned in the beginning. But we are still held accountable for this. We will discuss with our good friend China, so that our student can go back and study in China. This is the first point. So the second point is about the fourth dose. Will it be free of charge? We need to study whether or not there's a necessity to get the fourth dose, and whether or not there's the availability of the vaccine. We need to continue to observe. I believe that the government still hold accountable most of the part, but we will propose to the private company to help with the vaccine for vaccinating their staff. Like for example, for this media company, the company need to spend money on their staff, like the factory, the restaurant. So this is a part where the private owner can have to contribute to the effort in this campaign. But for the general citizen population, as the farmer, as the garment factory worker, so we have to hold accountable for them in providing them vaccine. Regarding the third point, like I mentioned earlier, tourism, one of the main target of our tourism is China. So we push to for the increase until for the 10 million target. So when I was talking with His Excellency Xi Jinping, we need only like a 5 million, which account for 0.05%. It was back then. Now we still want 10 million of Chinese tourists. Thai and Singapore also want Chinese tourists. We also want Chinese tourists. So vaccine tourism will kick off with China first. So there's a guy, Miesny. So anything that we do with China is wrong. Before there were people in Europe, like England, France, Italy, US. So we restrict them, people traveling from those countries, but not from China. So he was not happy about that. So let me ask you a question. So if I restrict, I ban the travel from China, it's equate to closing our own nose. So the only way for us is China and South Korea to Cambodia. I just want to tell Dr. Miesny, you have the right to express your opinion, but should not be too much on the foreign politics. And you can feel free to express your opinion. So nowadays you are making comments. That's your freedom of expression. That's democracy. What else do you want? I reveal the name. That's the doctor. We never certify him. Another PhD, we have already arrest warrant because you support the 6 criteria of creating a government out of the country. So now we have the arrest warrant. If you run away, you should run to a very far distance. If you're roaming around here, you might not be able to escape. So regarding any movement, we need to arrest that. If we don't arrest, we are not the government. Please do not try to get into the past that is going to making you going to the prison. So any movement that involves the weapon or it's considered as illegal. So there's another PhD person. I was talking at the stadium. Let's just call a stadium. So if I don't depend on China, who else should I depend on? So I use that word. So they comment that that word is correct but should not be spoken. So are you stupid or what? that's the correct term, but should not be spoken. So next time, please do not demand the right to news or so the correct word, but not allowed to be spoken. So what does that mean? So they said that I am biased to China. So what should I answer to this? I have to talk the reality. If I don't count on China, who else? That's the reality. So you want me to hide the reality, the outcome of the Cambodia and China cooperation? You're stupid. I would like to use a bit of impolite word, inappropriate. So why you refrain Prime Minister from saying that? I said it's correct. He said that it's correct. The term like yeah you can count on China, but the word should not be spoken. I am brave. I'm the master of the countries. I manage the countries. Who else can talk? Why not me? Are you concerned about affecting others? For example, let's talk about Japan. I can also make comment. Bridge in Nhat Luang. If I don't count on Japan, who else? Kisona Bridge. If I don't count or depend on China, on Japan, who else should I depend? National Road number 1 and National Road number 5. If I don't count on Japan, who else should I count on? I can also make that comment. So I can make comment for any countries. I'm not afraid that it will affect China. Why you refrain me from making this comment? And you really want the freedom to news and information, but it seems very biased here. So there's an arrest warrant now. So So there are the 6 criteria for creating a government abroad. So if you want to create, you will be imprisoned. It's not only imprisonment. So the terrorist movement will be shot as well if they are caught doing that. This is not the freedom of expression. In terms of political comment is different, and military movement is different. They want to follow Myanmar. It's like this is not it's not right. So you want to be in trouble. Arresting Hun Sen is the next reason for imprisonment. And